Yes, everyone, what's going on? My name is Stephen Howson. This is Full-Time Devils. Today joining me is Carl and Karthik, and we're here to talk about all sorts of shit. I mean, it's all going off, isn't it? We actually had football this weekend that we could talk about. Shall we talk about that, or should we let you drip on it a little bit? We're going to talk about what Luke Chadwick's been saying. We definitely have a Wally of the Week this week, or a fucking Witch of the Week, I might rename it, because this is such a horrendous thing. I might even start on this. We can touch on Ghana and the loan move, and Troy Deeney talking about being unhappy about playing. What do you want to start with?
It's up to you.
Football.
Should we talk about the Germans then?
Yeah,
that was a bit weird, wasn't it?
How many of the games did you watch?
Two.
I think.
Yeah, two. I watched Dortmund and I watched Bayern.
Yeah,
Dead weird. It's horrible. I couldn't get used to it when we played last with no fans. There was no one in the ground. It's just like, and what I don't understand is, right, is I know the subs have to sit 2 meters apart, right? Got face masks on. They go on the pitch and they're cuddling each other. I don't.
That doesn't make sense.
Just suck that off because if they go on, you're not doing the 2 meters anyway. So, mate, blows my mind.
It's like they did it just so the camera would pan on them and they go, "Oh, look at us, we're social distancing. Yeah, we can do it." I was like, well, look at the fucking 22 players on the pitch there hugging each other at corners.
Sancho was cracking it. I didn't see one person touch hands right at the pitch until Sancho come on. Sancho's giving people fucking high fives. And like, what are you doing?
the whole they're doing stuff clearly for visual. Look, aren't we playing by the rules reasons? And I think that the no celebrations and everyone wearing a mask and sitting 2 meters apart in the dugouts and that is all for that reason. Because it's stupid because outdoor it's meant to be a little bit more relaxed anyway because you're not in an enclosed space, right? To be 2 meters apart with 18 of you, you need like 100 square meter dressing room. Guess what? There ain't a dressing room in the world that's that fucking big. Not even. No, there's just not dressing. There's not a dressing room the size of a bastard G-Mex, right? So no one's had a dressing room that size, which means the worst place I think that you could have got is the dressing room at halftime because it's going to be full of people breathing, sweating, and then sitting right on top of each other, possibly even shouting. Although probably not in the Dortmund dressing room. I wouldn't have thought at halftime. But do you know what I mean? Like there's an area where that's probably the worst place to be. And then you walk outside and you put your mask on. You didn't have the mask on when you were talking in the dressing room. So it seems like to me they're doing some stuff for show, and it is purely for show. And I think everyone can sort of see right through it, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Surely people have a bit more common sense and just look at it and go, hang on a minute, what's the point of that? But clearly no one's saying anything, so we're just going to carry on, are we?
It's a fucking joke, mate. Honestly, it's an absolute piss take. Troy Deeney's been in the press a little bit, and he's had mostly support, I would say. I haven't really seen much of people giving him any digs for it, which is right. And he's saying, why am I putting myself at risk here? If there's any risk, why bother? I've got a young son that's had asthma. Why would I put anyone at that sort of risk? And then it did so happen that it was his club that's got one player and 2 members of staff, and they're only isolating for a week, which I find strange. I thought 2 weeks was the crack with isolation, but apparently now they're only isolating for a week and then back. But he's saying he doesn't want to go training. I don't have an issue with that, and I don't think anyone has an issue with that. What's your take, lads?
I'm at the same sort of thing as Troy, not nowhere near the same as like the where he is and that. But obviously the kids are meant to be going back to school and that, and I stand with him like. I'm like, hang on a minute. Why are people going back to stuff when you've got to change the rules for stuff? If you're changing the rules for something to make it able to happen, then it's obviously not safe enough for it to go back. If you know what I'm saying. Like they're saying, obviously I've got a young lad who's in reception, and he's going to be going back to school next week or whenever it is, a week after that. And I'm like, well, hang on a minute. So what if one teacher gets one person that then involves 15 kids? That goes back to their households, then do you know what I mean? It could just grow and grow and grow and grow. And it's the same with Troy Deeney. If he's got a kid with underlying issues, and obviously, like I said, he's got 3 people in the club with coronavirus, then why should he go back? Why should he risk his own life potentially, and then obviously his family's life? It doesn't make any sense. Like I just don't get the fact that where you've got to change rules And then they're like, oh, it's all right now, though, because you can train in groups of 10 for 75 minutes. It's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Do you know what I mean? And it's mental, mate. I said this at the start when German football come back, mate. If stuff's got to be changed, the rules got to be changed, it shouldn't happen at all. You just got to wait and just wait it out and see if we get a vaccine and stuff. But
have you seen the guidelines for if someone's jogging, you're supposed to leave like 2 minutes for their air to dissipate or something like that? How is that air dissipating when there's 22 people on a football pitch? It isn't.
Just hangs about.
It's just crazy, mate. It's like, I don't know. It's like, what did they say? What did the government say about the English game? It will raise the morale for football to be back. Yeah, great. But if everyone's dying, mate, do you know what I mean? And like, not to be dead morbid, but if people are getting ill and like in intensive care and stuff, it's not like a great morale setter, is it?
No, and actually, it would do it worse because I think if people was looking at it and you get a couple of games back and then, someone, even if they didn't pass away, but they got seriously ill, it's not worth it. And I think Sergio Aguero mentioned right at the start of lockdown is there's a decreased capacity in your lungs if you catch this, or there's a potential for it to be up to 30% forever. So you could literally Troy Dean is probably the wrong example, maybe someone a bit younger than him, but someone could get this as a young player and that's their career over with, all because someone wanted them to raise morale. Sorry, it's not the fucking footballer's job to raise morale. They're paid to play football to the best of their abilities. That's it. You don't have to, it's not in the contracts. And by the way, make sure the nation's fucking happy during a global pandemic. That doesn't get fucking mentioned. It's absolute nonsense.
Footballers have taken penalties since this has started, isn't it? It started with the wages. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't take pay cuts because you pay too much. It's not their fault they're paid what they're paid. Do you know what I mean? And now it's like, oh, now you've got to make everyone happy. I think they deserve a little bit of a break, I think.
He's got every right to
billionaire Tory government backers. Why aren't they getting called out? They probably employ so many fucking people in this country, those billionaires.
All Piers Morgan's bothered about is getting them on his fucking talk show.
The thing is, though, when he got one of them on, he was like, well, hang on a minute, you're calling for, I don't know, I can't remember who it was now, but they're like, you're calling for footballers to have pay cuts. What about your millions, like, hidden properties and stuff like that? Why can't you have a pay cut? He's like, but that's not what I'm saying. Yeah, football's taking pelters, mate, while this is going on. And justified in some reasons, but footballers in general, I think, are getting a bit of a hard time of it.
Do you know, I keep seeing there's obviously something happened with Hudson-Odoi, and we'll just leave it as something has happened rather than going into the details of it, because there's all sorts of fucking allegedlys need getting flung around if we do. But there's been several instances, Jack Grealish being another one, of players that have been caught doing shit they're not supposed to during this lockdown time. And it makes national news and it is national scandal because the vast majority of people are playing the game. We went out to go and get some takeaway yesterday, and the amount of people that you see walking around in groups, and you go, that's a group of mates. That's not like 2 or 3 brothers or whatever that live together. You are fucking friends. And it looked like a summer holidays. That's what it looked like. Do you just see fucking gangs of feral kids just fucking walking out the place? And you're like, I think that's what's causing a lot of people to be threaders with this whole lockdown thing, because I think most people are going, I'm fucking playing by the rules here, mate. And I'm looking outside and seeing every fucker. Steve Yvetz, the guy that was in the Looking for Eric film, he posted on Twitter yesterday that he'd come out to one of the reservoirs nearby, and he said he's not getting out of his car. He did a video saying, I know I'm hypocritical as fuck here because everyone's just wanting to come out to the country a little bit and maybe get a bit of fresh air. He's like, but look at this. There's no social, it doesn't exist here, social distancing. It's just, it looks like a busy bank holiday. It's mental. I mean, we obviously don't know when it's coming to an end, but it feels like it just is gonna come to an end, doesn't it?
I reckon people are just like done with it. I think people are bored with it. I think initially people are, let's do social distancing. Let's all act like we care. And then everyone's eventually just gotten bored and like, oh, fuck it. I've not got it. Let's just go and do whatever we want. Like, I've got 2 mates at home. They're fucking going. I mean, I know it's all right when you're in the same household going out and doing whatever, doing a workout for an hour. But like, they're telling me that when they come back, they're seeing like people having picnics in the park. And I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. Why?
It's madness, mate. My kids, I've got a 12-year-old and she's not been out for, 8 weeks now? Not seen a soul, mate, for 8 weeks. Just doing her head in.
Yeah. Yeah, Jaden's 13. He's the same. He's become fucking pro at whatever fucking video game he's playing, I think.
My 5-year-old getting more wins on Fortnite than I've ever seen in my life.
Luke Chadwick's been in the news a little bit. Luke Chadwick, a bit of a cult hero at United for having more league titles than Gerrard, like everybody who's ever won one league title. But he's been talking about some of the shit that he used to get on, what was it called? I think It's All Over with Nick Hancock. Now, I don't really remember the shit that he got. I do remember Luke Chadwick getting shit. I do remember that he was getting abuse, and I think even the fanzines and that took the piss out of him a little bit. But I think they think It's All Over. It was either on BBC One or ITV, and it was at a time when everybody watched BBC One or ITV in the late 90s. And every week they hammered him. Every single week they took the piss out of him and hammered him. And this was a young lad that was, I think he probably made about a dozen appearances or so for United. But he says it absolutely crushed his confidence. Are we doing enough to support the mental health of players, or do you think that people just go, well, they earn a fortune, fuck them?
Not every club even has a psychologist. That's how little we do. I think I can't remember who it is, but I remember discussing at uni about something, and it came out that I think it was only the five clubs actually employ a sports psychologist. So clearly they're not doing enough. They're not doing enough at all. We go on about it. We'll do like a video or something about, make sure you talk, make sure you're not alone. You can do this and that. But how much are you actually doing to help those people? It's very minimal.
You got, and nowadays it's even worse, isn't it, with social media, and anyone could just make an account on Twitter and abuse you. Like, you get it, Steve, I get it all the time. Carfit gets it from Jay. So it's like, so you know what I mean? It's so hard, like, nowadays, to sort of stay away from it. I remember Luke Chadwick getting absolute pelters, mate, for the way he looks and stuff and his appearance. And it's mad that, like, you just think that there's people out there that will just literally pick on or find something to pick at it, and it's horrendous.
He'd have got football Twitter accounts taking the piss out of him, which I don't know if that's better or worse than a national TV program doing it. To be honest, I don't know. Either way, it's not fucking nice.
When it's on TV, at least there's some sort of police on it. On Twitter, mate, you get away with anything. Do you know what I mean? It's craziness, mate. Craziness. Jesse Lingard's another one, isn't it? Like, with his sort of state of mind at the minute, he's been, because he's had a dip of form, he just gets absolutely pelters on Twitter. And it just gets worse. It's just like a vicious circle.
I think the problem is people say things behind a screen that they wouldn't say within fucking digging distance. And that's what needs to happen. There needs to be a swing back of people getting fucking digged in the mouth for things that they say. Or just, the rule I'll say is I'll say whatever I'd say to you on Twitter to your face. That's me.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll deal with the consequences of that if you don't like what I'm saying. But I think there's a lot of people who do the other thing where they'll say whatever they want to say behind a screen, and then probably if they did see Luke Chadwick, would probably be all about him for a fucking selfie. But he's still involved in football, which is good to see. But it does look like it affected him. And I know, chatting to Mike Clegg, who fell out from United, he went from United to Oldham, and he's not really fully explored it. And he was going to come and do it on a podcast with us, talking about the mental struggles that he dealt with, realizing he wasn't going to be a footballer at United, grew up as a United fan and all the rest of it, and how he struggled with that. I mean, he's back at the club now as a coach, so he's probably a really good person for some of the lads to chat to, part of the treble winning squad and all that lot. But there's so many pitfalls potentially, and I can't imagine what it's like for someone like Mason or Brandon to have gone from playing under 18s football in front of 12 people a few weeks ago to having 1 million followers on social media who know everything about your life and have an opinion on everything in your life. There was a picture of Mason driving in his car, and I was flicking through it, and even I went, fucking hell, we sponsored by Mercedes or something? Like, everyone's driving a Mercedes, and then I'm coming at it from one angle, but I bet there's people coming at it from another angle, and someone probably like, why have you got a fucking grey Mercedes, you dick? Like, which is nuts. But I'm sure that you're probably going to see some of that. Like, I bet if you go and look at his mentions, there's people probably giving him shit for whatever fucking choice of car he's got.
Nice. Yeah.
Brandon Williams got some stick, didn't he, the other day? What did he do? A video of like keep-ups in his garden or something?
Oh yeah, and you're like, why is he living in a council house?
You play for Man United. What are you doing in the council house? It's like, mate,
that was the Liverpool fan, yeah.
His mum, he's being savvy and using his brain and fucking keeping some of that cash in the bank.
He made his debut this season.
Exactly.
Right?
It doesn't make sense to me.
If he'd have gone, fuck it, and built like a fucking 10-bedroom fucking mansion in Alderley Edge, he would have got pelters for that. What is he supposed to do? He made his debut this year. Like, there hasn't been any sort of break apart from now, and there's not a lot you can do now, between him making his debut and right now. There's been no off-season. There's been no... All right, there was a winter break. It was a fucking weekend off at the end of the day.
Yes.
So what's Brandon done in that time? He's focused on his football. He's focused on the fucking problem and the pressure of being Manchester United's fullback, dealing with all of the issues that revolve around that and how difficult that must be to deal with. And he's playing football. Like, if he'd have just swanned off for buying a house is a fucking nightmare. If he'd have just fucked off and bought a house, you don't know how much that would have taken away from the concentrating on the game. You know, I can't believe people have given him shit for living at his mum's. The fucking teenager. What the fuck?
Surely people younger than him that are doing it anyway.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. No one older than him is going to look at him and go, why are you living with your mum?
30s, and they're in the same situation he is. Mental. Absolutely mental. So that brings us to Wally of the Week. I need to set a scene for everybody. So here's the scene. It's 1999. Wasn't a bad year. It was a pretty decent year.
Average.
Roy Keane, you might have heard of him. Got booked in a Champions League semi-final against Juventus. That booking was his second booking, which meant he was about to miss the next game. The next game, if we progressed, was going to be the Champions League final in Barcelona, May 26, 1999. Roy Keane was the club captain. He's already scored a goal at this point. He gets booked. Roy Keane does what Roy Keane does. He rolled his sleeves up. He went, right, okay. And he put in what's generally regarded to be one of the finest performances that any man has ever put in a Manchester United shirt. Now, one of my favourite players of all time, Paul Scholes, I think he came on in that game, also got booked and also ruled himself out of the final. Paul Scholes, for as much as I love him, and you know, his street, the conversation should be who was better, Carrick, Lampard, or Gerrard, and Scholes should just be considered as like his own fucking separate category. With Scholes, Scholes' head fell off. Scholes went to pieces and was largely ineffective in the game. Roy Keane rolled his sleeves up and put in a performance that even Sir Alex Ferguson, despite the fact that they both fell out, has to acknowledge was the greatest performance that anyone's ever put on his watch. So, that being said, fast forward to, was it 2014? Steven Gerrard thinks he can play the fucking Pirlo role because he's shit and ain't got the legs no more, and decides that he's going to mistrap a ball, allow Demba Ba in, and literally give away the title for Liverpool. That one incident, that might be said as well, Roy Keane got booked and was man of the match in a game that we won. The final which he missed didn't actually affect us because we still won that final. Some absolute fucking turbo fuckwit called Nathan Murphy from Off the Ball, who's actually had some really good interviews with Roy Keane and Gary Neville, if you go and check out some of their stuff, he did a whole interview where he said Roy Keane's Juventus yellow was his answer to Steven Gerrard's slip.
Helmet.
Which might be the single worst take I've ever heard on football. And I was there when McCullough said Phil Jones was going to be England.
How does that even add up? I don't understand. One cost him a place in the final that the team ended up winning anyway, and the other one cost him a league title. So how does that even balance?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just Scousers trying to insert themselves into everything. Because as we're saying, me and Jay was talking about this week. Ironic in some ways that Dortmund is being played on the 19th anniversary of Liverpool's cup final at the ground.
It just has nothing to do with it. But
okay. 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 But anyway, yeah. So Wally of the Week, Nathan Murphy, you're a fucking Wally. That is the hands down worst take I have ever seen on football. by a long stretch. I mean, it's not even comparable. And he's saying because Keane miscontrolled the ball that night. Here's the difference, right? Roy Keane got booked. Yeah, he might have miscontrolled it. And he might have bollocked his teammates. That was Roy Keane. I think the teammate, if he made a mistake, you was getting a bollocking. That's who he is, right? But Roy Keane put in the sort of performance that people would make documentaries about. Steven Gerrard, when he did that, decided to do his Planet Hollywood fucking All About Me show and had about 100 shots, of which like one of them was on target and none of them went in. He, instead of playing for the team, which is what Roy Keane did, I think BT have put out a Roy Keane all touches inch-in. Look how many of those are the simple, intelligent pass, because that's what Roy Keane was about. His decision-making was flawless on the pitch. Flawless. He'd win the ball, he'd play it off to someone who had time and space, and he'd put it in the right sort of place with the right tempo, the right kind of ball. He had a pass completion rate of like 91%. People think of Roy Keane as a fucking thug, just don't understand football, or here's the problem. People watch highlights and don't watch football. That's what happens. People watch far too many highlights. Roy Keane, from 2000 to 2002-ish, was an absolute force of nature, and for me was clearly one of the best players in the world. We did something the other day for the Premier League, which was talking about the most influential midfielder. They started it with the most influential captain, and then they changed it on us as we started the show to the most influential midfielder. Well, I said, well, for me, it's Roy Keane. From 1995 to 2001, Manchester United won 5 Premier League titles in 6 years. And we lost out on 1, and that was when Roy Keane did his knee in. And Roy Keane was the captain for the vast majority of that time. You know, when United won the treble in 99, he was voted Players' Player of the Year. The players went, that was why we won that. I think he also won Football Writers' Player of the Year, if not that season, the following season, and he won it twice. You know, Roy Keane he's become almost, I think it's a symptom of the younger generation of fan that never got a chance to see him. I think Beckham suffers with the same thing, and arguably Scholes suffers with the same sort of thing as well. Because Lampard and Gerrard seemingly were a slightly bit more modern. You know, fucking Paul Scholes won 9 titles, retired, came back, won another title, and fucking retired again. And people say, oh, it was because he was part of a great team. He was part of 4 great teams. Doesn't that tell you that he was a bit good? Fergie would fuck players off left, right, and centre. The fact he was part of 4 fucking great teams, and the argument that Gerrard was in a shit team, not really. I think his average position was like 4th or 3rd that they finished in the league during his time. That's not a shit team. It might not be an elite team, but it wasn't a shit team. And it doesn't hold weight when you see that Gerrard was part of that golden generation of England with an unbelievable team, you know, the likes of Rooney and Owen up front, that midfield, which was littered with world-class players, defence littered with world-class players. He never shone in that team. He never shone in that team. So the argument that he'd do it if he had better players around him like Scholes did, no, because he wasn't a fucking team player. Stevie Me was all about for himself. And that's why he wasn't a good fucking footballer. And that's why the likes of Pirlo and the likes of Paul Scholes and even fucking Frank Lampard are levels above him. Levels. So fuck you, Nathan Murphy. worst fucking take I've ever fucking heard in my life.
Mate, my wall is Ashley Young for choosing to be bald. Why is that thing?
Got a good set of hair on him, hasn't
he? He's got a decent hairline as well. What's he doing? Why is he choosing to be bald?
On here, already preloaded, but what a perfect opportunity that was. Just fucking throw it was like it was planned and it wasn't.
Have you seen N'Golo Kane?
No, has he got hair as well?
Hair as well.
Wow. It's mad. My dad's going to come back with hair at this point.
There's going to be so many players come out with a trim, though, when the Premier League's back, and someone's going to be like, hang about, what the fuck's going on here?
Imagine N'Golo Kane with like short sides, back and side. I
hope he goes full on Elvis. He gets like a big going on. Yeah, top quiff. Yeah, Kante with a quiff. That's what I want to see.
Love that. Have I got to pick Wally? I'll pick one. I'll pick oh man, I've not even thought about it. I'll tell you what, I'll go with people that break the rules. There we go.
Oh, bit of a wholesome
one massive fucking big umbrella, mate. You're all under there. You're having it.
There's been some talk of some of the youngsters going out on loan. Garner, Levitt, Laird, seemingly. Probably Bernardo. I think you could probably throw in the mix with that as well. Thoughts on that? Good.
I think they need it, don't they? If they're not going to get the opportunity in the first team, I think adult football benefits anyone. Unless you're like a specimen like Greenwood, who can just do it off the bat. Obviously, these guys have got talent. Like even Gomez. Hopefully, Gomez stays and does a loan somewhere. But when they come in Europa League and that, like Jimmy Garner and people like that. They've got ability. I just think they're a bit slight. So I mean, just a step down for where they need to be to play in the Premier League. So send them out on loan in the Championship somewhere in a decent side like that. Look at Dean Henderson. Look at how many leaps and bounds he's come on. Why he's done 2 seasons of first team football. Do you know what I mean? So it's always going to benefit him. And I think you see totally different players when they do come back after it, like a year or two of adult football.
Especially for signing a midfielder as well. I think people like Garner and Levitt, they need to go straight out and get first-team football because they're probably just one step off being involved in the squad. And I think Chong as well, he could use a loan. And I don't know why we've not seen him being linked with any loan moves.
I'm not sure what Chong's ceiling is, to be honest. I don't think it's as high as the rest of them that's in the squad. I was actually quite surprised at the club's desire to keep hold of him, unless they're just thinking he'll come and do 10 minutes and he won't fuck it up too badly. But I don't see him as having the same kind of ceiling as someone like Mason has. Or, I think he's 20. He's got to be comparable with what we saw from Marcus Rashford 2 years ago. And let's be honest, he's nowhere fucking near that. So I know people mature at different ages, and he did have a leg break when he was at 18s. But the fact is, you can't literally wait around forever with players, and ultimately, I think that's probably going to be something that ends up hurting someone like Axel. Undeniable world-class potential, but it's only potential until it's realised. And I do wonder if he'll ever actually get to realise that. And there's a few other players Angel's one of them. Undeniable world-class potential, not progressed in 3 years. What's to say the next 3 years don't go as the last 3 years? And he struggles again. Anything else you want to talk about, lads?
Don't know. In terms of the loan thing, I was just thinking just then, it would be interesting to see what we do with Fosu Mensah. I forgot he existed for a while.
He got a contract extension, just the standard default one that's in his clause, I believe. Max Taylor's just been given a 1-year extension by United. He was on loan at Stalybridge Celtic, which was cut short due to the Rona. So I wonder if he'll be going back there or not. I mean, fantastic that he's even fucking back playing football after getting cancer at such a young age. But if we're being very real, I'm not sure he's cut out for Manchester United first team. But I am glad that the club's giving him the opportunity and time, to try and get back to where he was, because there is a good player in there. I'm just not sure if he can compete with the likes of Mengi and Bernard and stuff like that. So maybe going out and playing a little bit of league football, playing in the National League, might give him the opportunity to come and get back up into the Premier League and stuff like that as well. So hopefully, as and when that level returns, maybe he'll go back out on loan and see that through, and actually get some people that are really keen on and taking him and progressing him down at that level. Anything else, lads?
You see, just talking about loans, switching the transfers, and obviously the summer coming up. Do you reckon we're going to go spend some money, or do you reckon it's going to be like trying to get a deal here and there, or obviously with no one knows what's going to happen with the transfer market and where it's going to be. Is it going to be inflated? Is it going to be are you going to be able to pick up some bargains? No one knows. But obviously United are going on about they're confident in getting like three of the targets this summer. I don't know what you lads think, but I don't know whether we're going to go and spend like 200 million quid again.
I honestly couldn't tell you. I think the first deal of the window, United might go, fuck it, our financial projections are X and Y, providing that the TV money, because that's huge, is one of them. We make a lot on match day revenue, which you're probably going to have to look at just not making, I imagine, possibly for a season, which is, I think Premier League clubs, because of the fucking wedge that is the TV money, will survive. They might not go as mad on transfers, but they'll survive. I think what you got to look at is Championship, League One, League Two, and possibly even Conference North is going to be well fucked without matchday revenue. What's that going to change in terms of the dynamic of the league? Is there anyone that's going to be given any sort of parachute payment to sort of see them through? Most clubs run at over 100% purely on wages. that's right throughout the leagues, let alone Championship and League One and stuff like that. Clubs that have gambled hard, like Sunderland was up around like 130% because they've gone down and we're trying to get back up again. I have no fucking clue what is going to happen in terms of all that lot. But the first transfer of the window, United might say, bollocks, we know how much we're going to earn. We know how much these players are worth. If no one else is doing big deals, well, we still can. So fuck it. And if they go in and just go bosh, 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 they could put themselves in a brilliant position for next season. But the same as everyone else, it's always an arms race, isn't it? If you don't put yourself in a position to be able to move forward and somebody else does, it's a game of chess. And I think that first move is important, because if the first move, something like Real Madrid just go fucking douche 150 million on someone, everyone goes, oh, okay, we're doing that way. All right, sound.
No. Do you think the break, like obviously the break now, which is unforeseen, do you reckon that puts us ahead of where we would have been if the season carried on in terms of where we are squad wise?
No, I don't think so. Looking at the trajectory and and listening to where Marcus is at, behind closed doors, I don't think he'd have been. I don't think he's ready yet. I think he's still a couple of weeks away, and it's fucking 20th of May today. So I think he probably would have made the Euros, but would he have taken to the Euros? It probably would have done him the world of good to have a summer off. But knowing his mentality, I think he would have done everything to try and prove his fitness. Probably ended up playing over the last couple of weeks to say, look, because the Euros is such a big thing for players. These international tournaments are literally a couple of weeks every couple of years. So I think he would have forced himself through. You don't know what impact that would have had on next year. But no, I think United was in such a strong position going into the lockdown. That momentum was only building. We had fucking the greatest player the world's ever seen in Ighalo. The fucking absolute magician that is Bruno. Confidence was high. We was bitch slapping teams finally. Putting 5 goals past someone away in Europe. I don't give a fuck. That's unbelievable. That's brilliant. And the nature of which that we did it as well. I think Mason Greenwood had 2 touches, I think. And one of them was to touch it into the back of the net.
Yeah.
So we were playing with confidence. We were believing in ourselves. We just fucking bullied Pep City. Everything was leading towards United to absolutely gate crash top 4. And I think we would have won one of the cups. I don't think we'd have done them both, but I think we'd have probably been semis or finals at least in both, and probably won one. And that would have been a pretty good season, considering the depths of where it was. I was sure Solskjaer was gone just prior. When we had City and Spurs in the same week and we just fucked up against Villa. Prior to that, I'm like, he ain't seen the end of that next week. He's gone, man. He is not going to be here next week. And we're going to get that fucking fraud in, aren't we? So, considering that was where it was at one point to where it was the day we got locked up, totally different. Yeah. And I worry about playing Spurs for the first game. I would have been so much happy. They can't even play the under-23s because it's literally the first team squad that's in training. So you can't even get any level of competitive game. Training's done in stupid little fucking groups of 4 and 6. As we saw with Bundesliga last weekend, the intensity is not there. It's a weird pre-season testimonial sort of pace, and I don't know if I would want to come up against Jose Mourinho with that being the case. It might be great because that might really fuck him up the way he likes to set his teams up, but by the other rule, that might just massively play into his hands, parking the bus against us. So I think there is nobody worse than Guardiola, than Mourinho coming into that situation and having to play him. That's a fucking nightmare. But I'm sure we're going to see it in 3 weeks because I'm positive that they're doing everything they can to bring it back.
It's going to be shit, isn't it? It's like, especially in the bigger grounds with just no one there. And, while I'm talking about the fans, it just reminded me, I feel like we should say well done to the club for, I don't own a season ticket, but I'm sure you two do. And, they've refunded season tickets and discounted it for next season. So I should say well done to the club for that. Because
the club's been really good, actually, during lockdown on everything.
Every decision right, haven't they?
There hasn't been a player been caught out of lockdown. I'm sure someone's done something, but there hasn't been one caught at least. There hasn't been any sort of scandal. The club hasn't got themselves in the shit, which is amazing considering, imagine it was one of the United players with Hudson-Odoi or Grealish, just think of the implications. There was a fucking player shot the other night and it's still not in the press. A Brighton player.
Shot?
Yeah. Like, will everyone stop getting fucking shot? Well, like that, yeah, shot. His brother got shot in the leg and he got shot in the hand, and it's not in the press yet. Like,
watch out!
Are you telling me that's a United player?
Mate,
that's front page, and Boris is asking questions about it later on, right?
Jesus.
That's a fact, but it's not in the papers yet. Although I expect it can't be. With them coming back to training soon, someone's like, "Where's
Why has he got a cast on? What's going on?"
Yeah. So yeah, I can't. United have done very well. The players, you got to give it to the players as well, because the club can only tell you to stay, and if you don't, that's on you. So fair play to the United and the players. All you're seeing is everyone working hard and doing the right thing. So fucking fair play to everybody involved. And fuck Nathan Murphy from On This Ball for the worst take I've ever fucking heard in my bastard life. Right, should we leave it there, everybody? Make sure to go and give these lads a follow on YouTube and on Twitter. And we'll be back next week with another podcast. Take it easy. See you in a bit.